Inside the one. He's going to do what he did to B4 a few laps off of the wet compound.
Hello and welcome everybody to another GRL podcast. This time we're not reviewing a race because we're now in season 7. We've just had our season 7 draft night on Monday the 20th of October. Now we're here on the 29th to go through all the lineups, go through the divisions, give some predictions on who'll actually come out on top in our opinion, and then we'll review that all at the end of the season and see how we've all failed. I'm here with Panda, Fanta, Pap, Peter, and we will have a look at that as mentioned. But yeah, let's get immediately into it, and I'll head over to Panda.
Well, evening, boys. First of all, I thought we would just quickly run through the calendar for those who missed the stream and are all catching up on this podcast. So it's a nice and easy start. It's only Melbourne, but it is custom weather, so could throw a little twist in there. You could see some of the people you didn't even know beforehand joining the league and getting a win straight away just because they're able to manage the conditions. Then Silverstone, which is just completely normal, a double header of Canada and Mexico, Abu Dhabi, which is just an awful track, really, if you think about it, and then China as a sprint. So the sprint races, I believe, are one shots for both qualies for the. How long is the sprint race? Like the actual race, it's 25 or 30.
I mean it's just a sprint format of the game, so a third of the 50% race basically.
Okay, yeah, so it will just be one shot qualies for both sessions of them, and then it goes into Singapore, another double header of Japan, Hungary, with then a little one bit of Spain before a 2 week break, if my maths is all right there, for Christmas and New Year's. Then for the final stretch, some pretty decent tracks of Zandvoort, Austria custom weather, Bahrain, Kota as a sprint, Portimao, Brazil. So unlike last season, it's actually a pretty decent calendar. You know, much love Atom, but you did not cook last season. So anyone else want to comment on the calendar and where they think you could see some surprises? Fanta, Pat? I'm going to take that as a resounding no sound. Uh, let's just move on then. So we'll go through some of the lineups, and hopefully these boys wake up and will speak their minds on some of these. So in Red Bull, first of all, Div 1 you got Boosted, Willow, Div 2, Xander and Rob, which is an incredible lineup. They're done there by Koi. Div 3, Eric R. Whiffle. Div 4, himself and Juice. 5, Robbo and Flasher. 6, Shikari and Antoine. And now, are you guys alive? Atom, I know you
Yes.
are. What do you think of this Red Bull lineup?
Yeah, I mean Koi in Div 1 especially got boosted again, which is good for him. I mean that equals out the disadvantage of having himself in the team. But yeah, Boosted's paired up with Willow. They raced together before, both are very, very quick drivers, so I think that's a good lineup. Rob Alexander, depends how they'll work together. I think that could pose some difficulties. The 3 overall looks good. The 4, I mean, Koi's been demoted, so I guess he'll score some decent points. Chooses a decent drive as well. And yeah, Div 5, Div 6 is a bit of a surprise package, isn't it? With Flasher, Robbo, so one experienced, one new driver, and same with Div 6, Shikari. Did some races last season, and Antoine's new. So yeah, I think overall a decent lineup, but yeah, I think after the draft, Red Bull would have probably hoped for some more experienced drivers. But yeah, we'll have to see. Let's hope there's already enough consistency into that team.
I believe Red Bull are the team that managed to keep most of the same drivers last season. They've got 3 that were with them at the end of last season. I don't think anyone else has got that. I know McLaren's got one. No, Mercedes. Hayes moves over to Mercedes, and she managed to get up some of her drivers that she had at McLaren.
Red Bull got 4 actually, you know, because you've got Koi as well, obviously.
Yeah, if you count
Koi,
Koyi, yeah.
Koi Wifflux and Boosted.
Yeah, so if they've still got the chemistry from last season, obviously Red Bull were right at the top, charging up there in the OCC, and then bottled it right near the end. You'd hope that they'd use that to push themselves to actually get it, but overall, I think Red Bull can have a very strong season again. Fanta.
Yeah, I mean, back in what Adam said, I think Boosted is clear kind of top contender in Div 1. I don't know much about Willow, but it sounds like they're going to be off to a decent partnership in Div 1. Div 2, Xander Wiles, Rob Kelly. Xander Wiles, I heard good and bad things about him. I know Rob missed a few of the races last season, I think it was. So hopefully he can stick out the whole season and potentially push for something, whether it's constructors or the championship himself in Div 2. Arwith, obviously, as you mentioned, staying from Red Bull last season. Myself personally, being in Red Bull last season, I knew he was fighting for a couple wins and a couple good points for the team. Koyi dropping down the division, be interesting. Think he might be able to pick up maybe a few wins more than just his. I think it was one last season. A bit of an easy maybe division for him, and I've heard good things about Juice too. In terms of Div 5 and Div 6, obviously Flasher, he unfortunately I think missed the first 3 races of last season, so ended up missing out on his full-time seat. And I don't think he attended many races after that, but this season, full-time seat, hopefully make a bit of a comeback in Div 5. Same with Shikari, only making a few races last season, so hopefully him and Antoine can potentially pull something out of the bag for the new Division 6.
Yeah, very nice. Pat, have you got anything to add on, or do you think they've all covered it?
Yeah, I mean, Red Bull it looks, to be honest, quite strong. As we said, that probably the strongest point of Red Bull will be a boosted in Division 1 and his super low wings during the races. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, it doesn't look, I couldn't say the strongest lineup for Red Bull, the strongest division. They look quite balanced for the next season. So yeah, I'm interested how they will do, if they will be able to keep the odds that they had last season.
Yeah, not to say any driver's the worst in a certain team, but I think the one thing that could hinder Red Bull a little bit is the unknown of Div 6 with having a new sign up and then Shikari who only did like I think 2 or so races last season, so that could cause them some issues. But moving on to Mercedes, with the new team owner of Hayes, she moved over from McLaren, obviously, as I previously just said. A little bit of a promotion for her, I'd say. Div 1, you've got Gauzy and Cormac. 2, Rexy, MacD. Div 3 herself with Maestro. Div 4, Cod, Trusted. 5, RJ and Def. Div 6, Nicholas and Indian Goat. Div 1, Gauzy obviously up there last season in the championship. I'm not too sure on Cormac, so Div 1 definitely looks like at least half of them can compete from my knowledge. Unfortunately, I don't know who either of them are in Div 2. Same with Hayes' teammate. Cod, he was a very consistent driver in Div 4 last season. He didn't really always, he wasn't always up there, but he's kept out of it. All the, Div 4 shenanigans being the bottom div last season, you can sort of imagine what was going on in there, but I think Cod's a very strong point in that lineup. RJ and Simon Def, I think, are both new sign-ups, and same with Div 6. So Div 5 and 6 is a very unknown for Mercedes. Let's start with you, Fanta. Let's throw you under the bus.
I mean, yeah, Gauzy last season, following as much as I could when I could. He seemed to be up there competing, getting quite a few kind of top 5, top 6s, I believe. Don't know again where he finalised in the division, but he's probably the standout name besides probably Hayes and Cod that I would recognise in that lineup. Obviously, as you said, we've got a lot of new kind of sign-ups, especially with the divisions now extended to 6, the likes of RJ, Def, Nicholas and Indian Goat. It's hard to predict them. Obviously, as you said, with Tier Cod last season in Div 4 being one of the bottom divisions, staying in that Division 4 now with 2 division extension, it shows promise. Keeping out of the trouble, but also trying to bring the kind of pace to the field as well. Trusted, unfortunately, I don't know much about. As you said, same with Hayes' teammate. Hopefully they gel well and they work well with each other on the track. Div 2, I don't know them two either, so maybe Adam can give a bit of kind of context to them, whether they're new, moved up or down divisions. So it'll be interesting to see how Hayes manages the new team of Mercedes now compared to McLaren, and we'll have to see how they perform in the OCC.
Yeah, let's give it over then to the Mr. League owner. I'm sure he'll know some of these names a little bit better. So, Adam, what do you think of this Mercedes lineup overall?
Yeah, I mean Mercedes once again for the second season in a row now have switched the team owner. As you said, Scorsese, I mean obviously great drive overall, also great guy. Had some good racing with him last season, so I think he can do well again, even though the competition is raised, I think, quite a bit in Div 1 now. So, I mean, I'm the slowest now, I think. So, yeah, we'll see how he can do. I mean, Cormac quoted himself as a top 5 assists driver. Today I raced him and he had a 6-second time penalty, so depends if all his pace is enough. Interesting team. Possibly a bit fragile. We'll come to a few Div 1 teams, I think, across all the teams to see maybe they've one good driver, but the other one is kind of a hit and miss. In Div 2, I mean, Mac T was in McLaren's, so Hayes' Div 1 team last season. He picked up a couple of points, wasn't really fighting for the top positions, but I think that will change now for Tier 2. So I think he could be a bit of a dark horse because nobody really knows him. Rexy, yeah. I mean, he joined. Everyone complained about his driving, and last season he was reserve. It bettered a lot. Like standards were fine, but the pace wasn't quite there. He now also turned off the line, so I think it will be a bit of a rough start for him. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, you never know at the start of the season, do you? Div 3, Maestro and Hayes, they race with each other multiple times a week, so I think that will be a good team. Even though I think Hayes will be a bit stronger, and she wanted the Div 3 title last season, so I think Maestro will try to help her out that way. Tickled and trusted also to TIR drivers. I don't know too much about Trusted. I just know that he was always a bit slower than Hayes on previous games. So I'll have to say on that one. But overall seems consistent. Nothing I think that would challenge for the Constructors' Championship or Drivers' Championship. But looks solid. RJ, I've not seen him race before. He only said in some other league he's dominating it, so we'll see how that goes in GRL. Seventh was in GRL before, but that was a couple of seasons ago. In the preseason race he was solid. So I think with a bit of consistency, he can certainly do well in Div 5. Don't know if it will be enough for a championship, but he looks good. And Div 6, Nicholas and Indian Goat, I think if they can keep it on the road, that looks like a very strong team. I mean, Indian Goat might be one of the quicker ones down there, I think. But he, to save his life, can't keep the car on the road, so that might pose a bit of an issue. Nicholas, also new joiner from our partners from Broke Boys, so difficult to say, but I think he should also find himself near the top half of the grid. So overall, I think it's a solid lineup, but I don't think it's anywhere near the Mercedes lineup from last week. I'm not saying this because Pat is in here, but yeah, I mean, our especially top 4 tiers were looking a little bit better than that one, but you never know, maybe it's enough.
Yeah, so let's move on to the man that used to run the Mercedes then. Pat, what do you think of your ex-team's lineup?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I can't say it looks better than mine last season because it doesn't. Because we won the OCC, and I can't still say that about the Mercedes from this season. But yeah, Hayes was saying from the beginning that she wants a consistency. She don't really want the fastest drivers. She wants the consistent drivers, and that kind of paid off last season for her. Because she never picked the fastest driver and still finished P3 in the OCC in her first season as a team owner. So that's definitely a solid result. And yeah, I mean, she definitely got some more knowledge on the drivers that she had from last season. So hopefully this this season she won't have as many transfers as she had last season. That brings her down. And yeah, I mean, Division 6 probably in every team is a kind of unknown because that's mostly new drivers with the slowest one. So none of us pretty much race them except Fanta this season. He will get to know them. But yeah, I'm it's hard to say. But yeah, Hayes from the beginning said that she wants a consistency, and I hope she gets what she wants.
Yeah, well, can't remember if I spoke to Fan about the Mercedes, but if I didn't, we'll just move on. Let's go to Ferrari with the team owner of
Before.
Before.
Beeford. I'm guessing he's not racing this season then, because that's what I was looking for. I
Mm.
was looking for the name with Tio next to it. But Div 1, J Ronaldo with EVR Connor. 2, CFX with Super Soldier. And then Div 3, Turbo Toms and Lawn. Div 4, Lexus and Yasin. 5, another F1 YouTuber and Brownish Buns. Div 6, Beetle and Toast. Oh look, there's the little changed. It appeared. I
Magic.
can't actually say much on this lineup, but the only two names I do know are Lexus and Brownist. Picking up Brownist in Div 5 is definitely a good one. I think Brownist, if he keeps it nice and clean, isn't making little mistakes, because he did have the quali pace. It was just sometimes in the race he'd just drop off a little bit, but I think he can definitely be up there in Div 5 this season. So it's a decent pick for B4 there. And then Lexus in Div 4 last season started off really strong in the first half, and then in the second half just didn't seem to be able to continue the run of form and started slipping down the drivers. But I think if he can give it his all this season, he can definitely be one of the people up there. But I'm gonna have to give it straight to one of you guys because I don't know many of the names here.
All right. I mean, I was in Beeford's team, I think, for 2 seasons. I think one of them, though, team owners won the thing, so for 1 season for sure. And I mean, I like him, like I've raced a lot with him, also been in VCs, but as much as I want to say anything positive, he's just shot himself into the knee with these picks, I think, because it's that's one of the teams I think is very fragile, because in the top 2 tiers, you've got J Ronaldo, Fauna, and Kami and Super Soldier. And I think all 4 of them on the day can do really well, yeah. But you can't really provide any footage of that in GRL, and I think they're just a little bit too inconsistent to do well over a season. So I think that will be an issue, because Ferrari also never has been a team that has in all the tiers performed consistently the same. Like there's always been like a couple of tiers where they were like third, fourth, but then they also were ninth at some. And then Turbo Toms and Lawn. I think Tom is actually dark horse for tier 3. To be fair, I think that was a good pick. But Lawn, I mean, I know Beeford knows Lawn for a long time, but I think he'll not have the pace to challenge for the top positions in Div 3. Div 4, Lexus. He's got his moments, hasn't he? You know, from Div 4 last season as well. But he's just not got the consistency of a championship contender, I think, especially in that tier. And Yasin he's hit and miss as well. Like he wins all DNFs, that's about it. Div 5, another Div 1 YouTuber. I can't tell much about him. Browner Spuns, I think, is a solid pick for sure. He'll pick up the points, but if he will be enough to put the Div 5 Ferraris really on the top of the constructors, I think on his own will be a bit of an issue, but we'll have to see how his teammate does. Div 6, Beetle looked good. Toast looked rather at the bottom of the pile from the time submissions. So once again, I think the balance is just not there. It's just like the Red Bull in real life now. The balance is just not there at all. So yeah, I think I think this could be Beeford's toughest season upcoming, and he, I think, needs to really fight to remain in the top half of the OCC.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably agree with you as well. I mean, I don't know a lot about the top kind of 2, 3 divisions. I know of Lawn. I've heard mixed things. Um, Super Soldier as well. I heard a lot of bits going around about him, good, bad, this, that, and the other. Obviously, from personal experience, Lexus Brownist. I know Lexus can be consistent and he can push for the top. Obviously, Div 4 looks highly competitive, same as Div 5 this season. So how that plays out in terms of for them two, obviously being now in separate divisions, um, I don't know. It could be a case of Lexus is now down towards the back. It could be a case of Brownist is now right at the front. It's, I think, too early to tell. Obviously, in 2 or 3 races' time, we'll have a bit of a better understanding. I know in Div 6, Beetle he seems towards the quicker side from the things that I've spoke to him about and heard about. Toast, yeah, from what I've heard, he's quite a way down the pile. So I think overall, it's going to be interesting in terms of the OCC. Again, we don't know the likes of another F1 YouTuber. Him and Brownis could have a great pairing. They could end up pulling the constructors but not winning the actual championship themselves. There's a lot of if, buts, and maybes, I'd say, within the team. And as you said, a lot of kind of fragility behind the team. So it'll be interesting to see how they perform overall. And I think Beeford might possibly make a few changes come the midway point of the season, depending on obviously contracts. Obviously, contracts now big thing for this season. So depending on what he's been signed drivers to in terms of contracts could definitely affect his outcome in the OCC and in the divisions. Anything from you, Pat?
Yeah, I mean, from the lineups, what I can see, I can't really see Ferrari fighting for a top spot in the OCC or any championships at the moment. I mean, yeah, like Division 1 and 2, as Atom said, they will do well or they will do shit. And then Division 3, I don't know nothing about Tom or even Lorne. Yeah, the driver that I raised the most is probably Lexus. And yeah, he can have his days, but he's so inconsistent. So yeah, he will score a bucket of points, and then next couple of races he will score none. Then we've got obviously a Brownness Bounce who should do well in Division 5. So yeah, if I would have to say that, I would say that with this lineup they will finish around bottom of the OCC, and that's all I can say probably.
He's not. We were gonna be doing predicting the winners, but Pat's throwing it out for the bottom there. So B Ford, if you're
I'm gonna start
listening,
from the
I
bottom.
would use that as your fuel right there, because personally I would never allow Pat to speak to me like that. So let's
You do every
move.
day.
Okay, they don't need to know what we get up to in private time, all right? Let's move on to the French outfit of Alpine, owned by the beautiful man Cintium. Div 1 is Josh Rose with Reb Rob. Yeah, that guy. Div 2 is Cintium with Guyton Cass. Div 3, Gareza and Case Babu. Div 4, Kevin and Historic. Div 5, Echo and Spears. 6, Hunty plays in Vintage Control. Once again, like probably many of these Div 6 lineups, I believe Hunty plays and Vintage Control are both new sign-ups. So that one's going to be, once again, you're never going to really know how well they can perform, but hopefully for Cintium they do well. Div 4 is definitely Div 4 and 2. I've got to say for Alpine are their strongest points. Cintium, and then obviously the previous champion of Guyton Cast, they can 100% do well and score points week in, week out. And Kevin is someone that was always up there battling with the likes of Pat, Moorleader, and Rystar last season. So I think he could do the same in Historic. I believe he wasn't far off them either, or sometimes would be ahead of them as well. He has some really good weeks, but even his bad weeks are probably still a top six finish. So Div 4 for Alpine definitely looks very good. Kate Babu, I raced with him for a short part 2 seasons ago and he was up there, but I think he didn't have a great season last time out. So hopefully he can come back and do well for Alpine. But overall, I'd say Alpine look like one of the more well-rounded lineups right now. Fanta, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, again, Div 1, I don't know a lot about them. Atom will be probably able to fill us in more than anyone. Going from Div 2 to Div 5, as you said, Div 6 also extremely hard to predict. A lot of new sign-ups, a lot of unknown for most of the league and especially the team owners. And for us as well, so we won't find out until a few races time how that kind of plays out. But I'd say from Div 5 to Div 2, from the names I recognise, obviously Cintium, Gaitin Cast, Kays Babu, Kevin, Historic, Echo, and Spears. They're the ones that stand out to me. Obviously, Goreza I'm not too familiar with, but I would probably say Alpine, for me personally, is one of the strongest teams. It's probably the strongest team we've gone over so far out of, I think it's the 4 teams now,
Yeah.
including Alpine. I'd probably say they're probably one of my top 3 this season. They seem like they've got a really well-rounded lineup and some really strong drivers in the divisions they've been placed in. Again, whether that is due to be changed, scrutinised, that's for the future. But it looks at the moment for the tiers that the drivers have been given and how Cintium has done with his picks. He smashed it in all parks. I'd probably say. As I said, I'm not too sure on Division 1. Atom, I don't know if you want to feed on them too.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Rose has only done the last few races of last season in Tier 1, and he's done really good on some occasions. On some, he's just been, at least the one I remember, he's just been taken out. So that wasn't lucky, but he certainly got enough pace. He's a really, really quick driver. Also, since the midway point of last season, he said, "Yeah, I'll certainly prioritize GRL over some esports races just because how strong the grid looks." So I think he's really ready for the challenge and to like fight with the top likes we know of Exotic, Boosted, Blade, and many others. So I think he'll be really strong, but as said, he needs the consistency, otherwise he'll just flop. Rev Rob, I've not seen him race too much, especially not in GRL. I've seen in him some other leagues at times. Yeah, I think he's a good, solid number 2. But with number 2s in Div 1, it's always hard to say because obviously people need to push harder to make more mistakes. More mistakes mean less points mean more frustration. More frustration means not too many points again. So, yeah, will be interesting. It's a new combination, which is interesting. I didn't expect RevRob to be picked that early. So that's that. But as you said, I think Alpine, like Cintium absolutely smashed it. Like Div 2 to Div 5 looks really good. I mean, him and Gaitinkas. I mean, if they don't challenge for a Constructors Championship in Div 2, then I don't know. Goreza is what I've heard also really solid. He desperately wanted into Tier 2, wasn't quite enough. So we should expect him near the sharpen as well. Katie Babu, I mean, he was rivals with Cintium back in Season 4 when Cintium won the Div 5 championship. So they know each other, and they're really happy from what I've seen to work together now. So that's nice. Katie Babu, I think, is actually French, so he'll enjoy that Alpine car for sure. Koenig Historic, solid Div 4 lineup. As I said, in Div 4 it's really hard to judge because it looks stacked, to say the least. Echo and Spears, they might not challenge for the Constructors or Drivers' Championship, but I think if they work together, they can certainly also get into the top 5 of their standings. Yeah, I mean, Div 6, hard to predict, but to be honest, in Div 6, I think Sentiment has had an absolute howler. The anti-plays and vintage control seem quite a lot off the pace. But I mean, as long as they finish, from what I've seen, at least from Hunty Plays, who said he'll finish the race no matter what, that's important for the OCC. But I would agree with Fanta to say Alpine and the hunt for the OCC and also my top race. So yeah, I think Sintima's done a really good job, and now he just needs to turn it into some silverware.
Yeah, Pat, got anything to add on, or do you want to rattle through your own team of McLaren right now?
No, I definitely have to say that Alpine looks really strong, as it has been said before. So yeah, I mean, from Division 2 to Division 5, they look stacked. In Division 1, they look solid. In Division 6, they look probably as the weakest point of the team. But yeah, obviously, if they will do well throughout the season in a transfer window, we might have some changes. And yeah, who knows? They might fight for OCC.
Yeah, I definitely would say Alpine are one of the favourites, in my opinion, for that OCC. But let's go on to McLaren, who's got a brand new team owner of Remixo. And for his first ever draft, he went and got Div 1, Nardo and Ads, 2, Jobbo and Jelly Belly, Div 3, Sean Matts and Asthma Frog, and Div 4, Pat Peter and Waddington. Div, ignore those little that bit there. That's just cap. Div 5, Nori and Led. Div 6, Chef Skinner, and then Remixo himself. Uh, I'd definitely say Remixo's had a bit of a interesting first draft. Getting Jobbo in Div 2 is not an awful job, and Nardo in Div 1 I don't think's bad either. Sean Matz is a new sign up, and then obviously Div 4 getting the runner up in the drivers, or was it third in the end, Pat? You know, I can't remember how much you bottled it.
Second, who bottled it?
You, where did you bottle it to?
No, I
Second or
don't.
third?
Oh, I I finished second, still higher than you.
You still bowled it though.
Whoa.
But yeah, Pat, the previous runner-up. So hopefully, you know, you can turn that around and absolutely gun it for that championship this season. Use that as motivation, and then led in Div 5, who I think is one of the stronger drivers in Div 5 that can definitely bring Remixo some points. I don't think Remixo raced much himself last season, neither did Chef Skinner. So once again, in another lineup, I don't know about Div 6, and I don't think many people will in most of these lineups until after like the first three races where you can see where the people are consistently finishing or doing such. But I think McLaren definitely, I'd say a top six just from Lead and Asthma Frog and Jobbo alone. They can definitely push the team upwards. I don't know much about the rest. Pat, why don't you start us off here with your team mates? What do you think of them?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, for McLaren for Mixo, it was, I think, quite a solid draft, as Remixo is himself quite new to the league, and he probably don't know many of the drivers. I know that he knows a couple of the drivers personally, like me, W90 Led, Waddington, Asthma Frog. Yeah, we know each other, so I know he knows them. So yeah, if we look at Division 1, yeah, it doesn't look like the strongest drivers, but yeah, that's the drivers that at least attend the races, and they are from in a league far away already. So I wouldn't be worried about them dropping and losing the points. So that's definitely a good sign for him. Then in Division 2, Jobo, who yeah, if he gets some more pace, he can definitely try Cook in Division 2. Jelly Belly, I don't know much about. Then Division 3, Simas, I saw him racing in TIR with Hayes, and on some of the tracks he was around Hayes pace. On some of the tracks a little slower, but I think yeah he might be up there in the three. Same like Asthma Frog, if he will actually put some practice in, yeah he might be one of the quickest drivers out there. So I'm interested how this how Division 3 will do in McLaren. Then Division 4, obviously, uh, if the lineup stays as it is, we are going for a constructors championship. I'm getting the drivers championship. Waddington will be second.
Mm.
We will wrap it up in in a half of the season. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, different for me and Waddington. Yeah, we know each other. We raced each other. We are happy with having each other as a teammate, and that will look through like a really solid lineup for Division 4. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, even though if I won't be up there with my pace, I still can get some points with the consistency, and Waddington definitely can can be a front runner with his pace, from what I remember. Then in Division 5, yeah, as you said already, that W90 led, he should be a front runner. Nori, I don't know about. And Division 6, yeah, as we already said, plenty of time with every team probably that is unknown. You can't predict it really. And yeah, but I don't think there will be a front runner, at least Remixo from what I know. But yeah, McLaren looks like a solid mid-pack team.
Yeah, gotta agree there. Adam, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I found it interesting. You both, all of you said, looked like a solid team. I completely disagree. I think McLaren will, like in real life, fight with Ferrari, but it's not a good thing here. Um, I think the team just, when you look for a team, it either has a couple of really, really fast people, considering the tier, or a ton of consistent ones. And I just here see kind of a mix of fast and inconsistent, and not too many consistent ones. Obviously many
Thank you.
new as well. I mean, I know Pat can do well. Waddington is just one of those drivers. I've heard he's consistent, he's fast, but he's not delivered it in GRL yet. So
Bye.
I'm still waiting. But yeah, that will be one to watch. I mean, Shawn Matz, Hayes also said he's good. He's good. So I'm still also waiting on him. He's not done a race yet. Obviously, he'll race a couple of different people as well. How he compares to them. We talked about Alpine's Gorza earlier. I've heard a lot more positive things about him, so we'll see how how Matt shapes up in the Div 3 grid. And I mean, Div 2 looks good. Job on Jelly Belly. I think Jelly Belly will be good in Div 2. He just turned off traction control, which should help to get faster. And yeah, Div 1. I think in Div 1 will have a difficult season for sure. I think Nada will score like 70 points because he'll get a few podiums. But he's on race pace. He might be one of the top three fastest drivers, but the consistency is just not there, and ads lacks a lot of pace this game. I shouldn't say that because I lack a lot of pace, but I lack that every game. um, Noreen D5 late sign up. Can't say anything. Led, I've heard many people also say he's good, but in the 4 last season at least, I haven't seen many good results from him. So we'll see how that goes. And the remixer Chef Skinner, I can't say much. I've only seen Chef Skinner has raced at our partners Broke Boys in their tier 3, and they've got 5 tiers. So maybe he's a dark horse actually. So yeah, but overall I think a bit fragile as well. And I mean, I think they can do well if Remixer manages it, but in your first season as team owner, that will certainly be a challenge. So yeah, will be interesting for sure.
Yeah, and Fanta, if you just want to quickly rattle through your opinions, because we do have to do predictions, and we've been going for 40 minutes so far, and we've still got a few teams to go. So just rattle
Yeah,
through
I
them.
mean, just going off of what everyone else kind of said, obviously you've got a couple standout names like Jobbo, Jelly Belly, as uh, Adam said, Nardo has potential in Div 1, but I think the main thing is we keep focusing heavy on the Div 6 side of things with the unknown, but I think with now the tiers have spread out with the new sign-ups, the divisions are just getting more and more stacked and competitive within that. So we don't really know how things are going to play out in any division. So it is a bit of a blind outcome for most teams. So it will be interesting just overall to see how they all change.
Yeah, I gotta agree. And then on to the best team out of every single one here, the Kick Sauber, the beautiful green machine that everyone's going to be seeing in front of them. Div 1, you've got Jacob and Jay Snowy. 2, Skizler and Thomas. Div 3, White, Josh and Lloyd. 4, Liam and Alexis Beast. 5, Revelo and myself. And Div 6, Fanta and Bolt Slinger. In my opinion of my own draft, I got to say my weakest point, not to say that I dislike any of my drivers, is probably Skizler and Div 1 because like I've said many times going through these teams, I did not know many people, so I just threw some names out there. I only got Snowy because he's my own team principal in XRS, so I just decided to go and get him. I'd say I'm happiest with my Div 4 lineup. I think Liam and Alexis Beast can definitely cook in Div 4 this season. I now am gonna enjoy sitting back and hearing these people's opinions on my team. So let's go with you, Pat, first.
Oh, again me. Oh my god. With pleasure, to be honest.
Oh,
The
okay.
Willy,
I
the
have to go
Willy
first.
Bean Green Machine. Yeah, what I can say about. Yeah, in Div 1, BRT Jacob. I don't really know him. Probably Atom will be able to say something more about him. But yeah, he's in BRT. BRT got some quick drivers, so we will see how he will do. Jay Snowy, yeah, he can be a front runner. He can be a midfield runner, and I can't really judge his pace on Division 1 because yeah, I'm not really in there. So yeah, but then in Division 2, Thomas should be fighting in the front. I'm not gonna lie, Thomas is fast, is consistent. He's a really clean driver with a good standard. So he raced for me last season for a second part of the season, and he was doing really well. So I'm really hoping for a good result for him. I'm cheering for him, and I'm fingers crossed that he will do well. In Division 3, you've got a White Josh who should be fine. Then you've got the absolute terrorist Lloyd. Lloyd, if you're watching that, sorry, but last season, in a race that you've done, you've been a terrorist. And the race bound says it all. It's all. In Division 4, you've got Liam and Alexis. They should do well. But I remember that last season, Alexis missed some of the races, and her attendance wasn't really up there. So yeah, if he will be there, it should be good. Then we've got Division 5 for Revilo and Retarded Panda. Yeah, Panda, you should be up there. So I hope you will just pull your team along and you will motivate your team to do well. Revilo, I can't say about. I don't know him. And in Division 6, sorry, the fans' favorite Fanta. Yeah, if you don't win, I will personally kick you out of the league.
Brilliant.
That's all I have to
Brilliant.
say.
I do have to say, unfortunately for my own Div 6, unless Fanta can do some miracles, I love Boltslinger, he's a great guy, but he is not the one that you'd really want to see on a track. He can keep it on the track, but unfortunately for him, he doesn't have much of the pace. So hopefully, I can get that out of him. Can see if he wants to turn up some practice sessions. Obviously, I'm only one div above him, so it's not like I can get much out of him. But yeah, hopefully something can go on there. Atom, let's go to you.
Yeah, I mean, Saab obviously had an awful season last time around. I think they came ninth. I think ninth, not last.
Yes.
So, on your picks obviously then weren't great because they were influenced by the OCC position from last season. So I don't think you had any like great choices to make. I think a couple of them were fairly straightforward. I think with Jacob, you have a solid driver, even though he reserved for Saab a couple of times last season. And when I saw him spin. I think across full season, he'll certainly do better. Because as a reserve, you obviously don't care that much, I think. While as full time, you have a bit more responsibility. Snowy, I mean, Snow's camera angle is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. But he looked very fast at Silverstone on the last race of season 6. So yeah, he'll pick up a couple of points. I don't think you will. It will be a love story for you because I don't think it will be quite enough to challenge the top teams in Div 1. But like, looks balanced, looks where Cyber needs to because it's kind of a resurgence, isn't it? It will be tough to challenge for P1 in the OCC immediately. Thomas, as Pat said, absolute mega driver for Division 2. Was very close also to being to Division 1 this season, but wasn't quite enough. Skizla, I mean, aggressive driver, that's for sure. If he can really challenge for the top positions in the championship, I doubt it personally. But as a second driver, there could have certainly been worse picks. Division 3 is an interesting one. White Josh will bring you the points, but as I said, I think to challenge for the top will be very difficult. Lloyd, I don't think practices too much because he's got limited time. I think he can have the odd podium for sure. Like he's got a bit of pace under him. But for the whole season, I think it could be difficult, even for him as a former Division 2 driver, to challenge the top guys like AJ, Hayes, and so on. Div 4, I think, is really good. Liam and Alexis is very fast, especially. Consistency will show, but I think if you as team owner have a bit of influence on their performances and not pushing flat out, I think they can certainly do well in Division 4. Sauber's generally always done better in the lower divisions. That's why your pick's also a bit higher. I think you think highly of Revelo as well in Division 5.
Yes, sir.
I think you and him should build a pretty good team. And yeah, I mean, as you said, Bolslinger, from what I've seen, does not seem like he will absolutely destroy everyone in his division. But we know what to expect from Fanta, so he should certainly help your team out there as well. So we're all, I think, solid team, and certainly better than a couple of teams we've already talked about.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully there's the chemistry in Div 6 because I'm just going to put it out there, leak it all. Whilst I was sitting there doing the draft, I get Snapchat from Fanta and he says, go get Boltslinger as my teammate. So
Yes,
hopefully there's some chemistry between them and they can work together. But Fanta, again, rattle through them. I think we've got 4 or 3 more teams to quickly go through and then we can do the predictions.
Yeah, I mean, the clear standout for me is probably Thomas, as Adam and Pat have kind of fed off as well as yourself. Clear favourite, I'd probably say for Div 2, fighting up there last season. I honestly don't think you could have got a better pick in Div 2. White Josh and Lloyd, I know Lloyd from past teams and racing experiences, so uh, hopefully he's not what I've heard. But again, we'll have to see how it all plays out in Div 3. Division 4, Liam and Alexis Beast. I haven't raced with Alexis Beast, but I've heard good things. Liam, obviously there was a bit of a spat last season that we won't get into, but it caused him to end up not racing the whole of last season, which I think was a shame because I think he could have pushed on and challenged Pat with more leader. But now he's my teammate. Clean slate with everyone, I hope. So fingers crossed he can do very well this season. I've heard he's very quick and I've witnessed that in a few other leagues, and he's also another teammate of mine in another league. Obviously, retarded panda, yeah, bit interesting. Hopefully he does well. Lovely team owner. And Rev again, same as Lloyd, raced with him in a couple different leagues, couple years ago. So I know he's dropped down from the pace that I at least remember. So fingers crossed he can push up to that top again. I requested Boltslinger. I've heard good things, although he's not the quickest. He apparently is one of the most consistent drivers in any league that he races in. So hopefully, if I can't push on for the maximised points, if I get involved in incidents or anything like that, then hopefully you can be there to pick up the points that I unfortunately can't.
Yeah. Let's move on to Williams real quick. You got Exotic Planes in Div 1 with that promotion from Div 2. No, I'm wrong. Shut up. Then you got CRE Alfie, Atomic, Sharp Metal, Squig, Jason's back, Sphinx and Rystar, Galaxy Ionizer, Monopole Monster, Jeremy, and Genchi is the team owner himself. I would like to say some good words on Genchi. I do have him as one of my favourites to win Div 6 this season. I was a bit surprised to not see him in Div 5 with me because he's got a good bit of consistency here. He may not be the quickest in one lap pace in quali, but he can definitely give it a good go in the races and get himself up them positions to get some good points. So I definitely see him as being one up there in Div 6. And obviously, Exotic Plains being the runner up in the Div 1 Championship, you'd think that this season he wants to go and get it for himself. So that could be some great points for him. You got Atomic in Div 2, quite a decent bit there. And Div 4 of Sphinx and Rystar. Once again, Rystar being in the championship battle last season, and Sphinx not too far off. I think, unfortunately for him, he got out of contention within the last 3 or so races. So, but to be up there for that long is definitely something you wanted to look at. And Genji has got a brilliant Div 4 lineup there. Galaxy Ionizer, I don't know too much about him, but Monopole Monster in Div 5 was also one of those consistent ones that managed to stay out of the mess and get himself up in decent places. So Williams not looking too bad, to be honest. We'll start with Fanta this time. He can now continue speaking.
Yeah, I mean, Exotic Plains is a clear kind of name from last season. He popped up a couple times when doing the podcast, so I think he'll do quite well in Div 1. Again, to reiterate what we said again, it's the competitiveness of the divisions has kind of exploded a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see how he fares with the new drivers and obviously the old drivers still in there. CRE Alfie, I'm not too familiar with, but Atom can probably again feed onto more on that. Atomic, a bit like Revelo. I used to race with him. I used to be in the same team as him. I know he can have the pace on his day. So hopefully he can carry that across and potentially push up for the likes of the Williams with Shut Medal. Elsquig, name I recognise, so I believe he should be towards the top end of the grid. We'll have to see. It will be interesting. Sphinx and Rystar, I think it's quite a good lineup. How they fare in Div 4, again, not too sure with how the new Div 4 is going to play out. Last season, Rystar and Sphinx both were pushing very, very hard. Both seem to be performing very, very well. Sometimes I feel lacked a little bit of consistency at times. Obviously, Rystar, I believe, missed a chunk of races. So he's still pushing towards that top step by the end of the season, challenging Pat and Morley. So be interesting to see how he fares if he completes the whole season and doesn't go off crying. But again, it's more competitive. He might not feel like staying for much longer. Ionizer, I haven't raced with. Monopole Monster. Um, I don't think he'll do amazing in Div 5, if I'm honest. It'll be interesting to see how he fares, in all honesty. Jeremy, I believe, is new, or at least I haven't personally raced with him. And Gentry, again, I'd back him to be top 3, possibly even pushing for the likes of winning Div 6 on his day. Again, not necessarily the quickest, but definitely has the consistency to carry it across the whole season.
Yeah, and very sorry to everyone. We have been going for 50 odd minutes, so we're gonna rattle through them because we've still got predictions to do. So, Pat, because you didn't get to speak about Williams, if you want to start us off with V-Carb, run us through what you think about him.
Ooh, oh my God, probably. Oh, Vika, probably one of the strongest lineup across the all teams, like Division 1. Yeah, that's Blade and Atom. Yeah, Blade obviously a championship contender straight away. I have to say that Atom, he might be, as he said, he might be not there with the pace, but he's consistent. Oh, sorry. He's consistent, and yeah, he will probably still score a solid point. He will have a couple of good races where he will probably avoid the chaos, and yeah, he's just a solid driver. He won't get penalties, so he will probably bring points. And that's for me Division 1 Constructors Championships also. In Division 2, we've got a remaining champion from Div 3, Tom. Yeah, so I'm surprised. I'm just wondering how he will do in Division 2 with that stacked drivers pack. Then Brushy Pancake, he should be up there, probably another championship contender for Division 2. Then Division 3, FIFA Lord, a solid driver, and AJ Nolan, that's a solid lineup, and they will also do well. Division 4, Banjo Warrior, Man in the Box, yeah, two fast drivers, and again, probably a front runners. Division 5 and 6, I can't really say a lot because I don't really know them. So yeah, but probably from Division 1 to Division 4, there's at least one title contender that should be in play. So yeah.
Yeah, it's very good. Adam, if you want to go through your own team, let's hear you speak about them highly, I guess.
Yeah, like um obviously had the placement sheet a bit longer because we're setting it all up and everything. And like last season, I was like, it's not that hard to pick good drivers, like a couple of them. And now we obviously extended it to 6 tiers, and the closer we got to draft night, I was like, oh dear. Bottom 2 tiers, I've got no clue. But looking at it now, I'm really happy with my picks. Like obviously a new Blade and me and Tom were set, so that was already a good three. Then I got Brushy, which I know if he keeps that car on the road, which I will force him to do, with all the force I have, he can do very well in Div 2 Championship. I think him and Tom already have a good relationship after talking to each other in the chat. So that will be important because already made clear, obviously, team comes first, and I think both drivers have realised that as well. Div 3, I think if any tier is capable of winning a constructors, I think Agent Old and FIFA Lord are that team. Like I think both of them pretty fast and really really consistent, just drivers you can rely on. So yeah, they're really good. Banjo Warren Man in the Box. At first, when I got them, was like, this is either gonna go very very nicely or very very bad. But the more I think about it, I think it's a very good lineup. Also, I don't know how Man in the Box's Wi-Fi will do in Alaska, but theoretically it's still in the US, so I hope it would be fine.
Greetings to Alaska from us.
Yeah, I mean, there are no F1 tires for snow, so yeah, I think they can do well for sure. Then Uctus, I know from Division 3 or 4, a couple of seasons ago. He certainly can do well if he attends all the races, which I expect him to do. I already talked to him. He's also very, very eager to do well for the team. Darkwood, I haven't talked too much, but Hayes was speaking highly of him. But she raced him like a few games ago, so I was like, I need to pick him early, which I did. Tull and Golden Wolf already said them. I think they've 0.5 seasons contract at VCARB and said, we'll have to see how this goes. Obviously, half of the season, we'll see what the outcome is. But for now, let's try and push each other up. Both of them, I think, are kind of consistent. And yeah, just help them to improve and gain from all the other quality drivers in our team. So overall, I think the draft could have gone a lot worse from my perspective.
Yeah, I gotta say, VCarb is definitely one of them up there that could definitely push for the OCCs. Uh, let's go to Haas. Me and Fanta will quickly rattle through this, and then Pat and Adam, you can end us on Aston. Haas, Div 1, Sausage Joe and AMS Dom. Div 2, Night Owl and Partick. Div 3, Cleaver and Spalding. Div 4, Morgan Hughes and Coma. 5, Bob and Braincore himself. 6, Clipscam and Sparky. I think the one thing Haas here is the very rare known driver in Div 6 with Sparky, which obviously he was always known as one of the slowest in GRL, but looking at some of the new sign-ups to Div 6, I do believe Sparky could probably get points most races. So at least Braincore's got that in constantly picking his friend there. Div 4, Morgan Hughes and Coma, they were always up there in one lap pace. Morgan Hughes way over Coma in one lap pace, but just never used to be able to convert it in the races, in my opinion. More he used to have silly little mistakes, but Coma was the other way round. He was definitely up there, but was so much quicker in the race. I think them two would be a good little lineup. Div 5, Bob. I'm gonna be honest, he was my pick if Braincore didn't take him because I was straight after him, but Braincore was smart and sensible and took him straight away. I do think Bob is definitely one of the people that could challenge for the championship in Div 5, and Sparky's teammate Clipscam. I've not heard of him unfortunately, so wouldn't know how he's going to go. But Sausage Joe, I believe, was usually a mid-pack runner in Div 1. Adam, am I correct?
He only did a few races, but I think one race he was challenging for a podium. But apart
Okay.
from that, yeah,
Yeah.
rather midfield.
So, I mean, as long as he's consistent in the midfield, that'll be some decent points for Haas week in, week out. That's all you really need to challenge the OCC is consistency. It's never really nowadays just fast and 2 races dead and then another win. AMS Dom, I'm not 100% sure on, but Night Owl, I believe, is quick. And then obviously he's got AMS Partic in there. Great pick from him in Div 2. I do think Partick is going to be one of the title contenders and should be some people's favourites in Div 2. Obviously, you've still got Thomas in there, Guiding Cass in there, but Partick is definitely still going to be up there. Fanta, go through it.
Yeah, I mean, Sausage Joe, I think for me is a bit of a it was a safe bet, I think, in Div 1. Again, he might bring a couple podiums, maybe a race win or two with him. We'll have to see how the season plays out. But I think that consistency is a major key, and a lot of people do overlook it, just looking for the fastest drivers. You can have the fastest drivers, but if they don't finish on the track, you ultimately end up with no points. Night Owl and Partick, I think, is a pretty strong lineup from them. I think they could potentially be someone challenging the likes of Guyton Cash and Cintium in Div 2. Cleaver and Spalding, I'm not 100% on either one of them. I believe I've heard of Adam before, so I think again it's a potential of an unknown, same as a lot of them compared to the Div 3 names I do know. I'd probably say there's a bit of a gap. So it'll be interesting to see how they perform again. They might be dark horses. They might all of a sudden pop up in Div 3. And we'll be in our words come 2 or 3 races time. Morgan Hughes and Coma, I think, is a very strong lineup. One lap pace is probably their key focal point in terms of consistency throughout the race and throughout the season. It's a bit of an unknown. I believe Morgan Hughes and Coma both joined a bit later in last season, but we're definitely pushing the top 5 spots, I'd say, on a regular basis when they were getting out of trouble with people and kind of keeping that consistency up. Bob, again, I'd probably say is one of the favourites for Div 5. Again, there's a couple unknowns for Div 5, but Braincore, I think he'll be towards the back end of the grid, low end of the points. But I reckon if he can keep that consistency up that he had from last season, he finished quite high at the end of Div 4 last season, so it could be interesting. And then following on from your Sparky comments, yeah, I think he could bring the consistency as well. So if Clips Cam suddenly is one of the quick guys, it could fill that Div 6 team very nicely.
Yeah, so Adam, if you want to go through Etnaval, first time team owners, Aston Martin team to end us off on the quick run through. Quick? No.
Yeah, I mean, in Div 1, obviously, we've got Bran and Conts. In Div 2, we've got Tiddly Louise and Wande. Div 3, Gustav Bestside and More Leader, the former Div 4 champion. Div 4, we've got Zirconium and Baltish Bachi. I hope I pronounced that one right. Div 5, we've got Litim and Mike Reed. And Div 6, it's me, MJ, and GMDD Winky95, which is an amazing name. Yeah, I think overall, nothing that would set the world on fire, I think. But I think a solid team, certainly not one at the right at the bottom of the OCC standings. I mean, Bran is new. He should pace-wise stack up around Josh Rose, so on the top end. But consistency, I don't know exactly. Cont, we know from last season, can probably challenge for top 10 again. But the consistency isn't quite there to challenge for a title. Totally Lewis and Wande. I think both experienced drivers. Both of them in the driver standings could be a bit difficult, but in constructors, I certainly think they can reach a top 4, top 5. In the 3, Gustav Bestside is new. Ed Neville knows him, so I guess he knows what to expect. I do not. More Leader, I mean, that's not the ultimate challenge for him. From what I've heard in the races, he lacked a bit of pace compared to his quali in Division 4. So I think he has to adjust that, certainly for Division 3, to be near the top for podiums and for races. So I think might be a bit of a rough start for him, but he can certainly fight himself through it, I would think. Zirconium, I think, will lack a bit of pace in Division 4, unless many would think, I guess. But I think his consistency will be crucial for Aston Martin as a whole. Baltaspace, I've not heard about him a lot, so can't really comment on that. Same for Litim. Mike Reed, I mean, Panda, he was your teammate last season.
Fair.
He hasn't got quite the pace, not even enough, I think, for the 5 title, but I think he'll certainly be in the top 10 for sure. So I think he'll have an okay season. And yeah, on the Div 6 lot, I haven't heard anything about them really. I think Winky's right at the bottom of the pile, and me, MJ, he knows Ed Neville. So I think, well, I've got no clue about his pace. Ed Neville certainly knows what to expect from him as well. So a few familiar faces for Ed Neville, and kind of a good guessing game for us.
Yeah, just add on to the Mike Reed fact. He's definitely, I don't think he's got the pace to push for a championship, but he's got the consistency that can get him up there. He's a pretty decent driver. He doesn't really get involved in incidents, so yeah, he's definitely a good pick there. Pat, run through it, and then we'll go straight on to the predictions.
Aston Martin, I can't say a lot about those drivers. Division 1 brand, as Atom said, he's new in the league. Cons, I can't say any more than Atom did. Division 2, yeah, experienced and pretty strong lineup, so we will see how they will do. In Division 3, I've raced only more leader. Gustav is again new. I can't say a lot about him, so more leader. I know that he's a good qualifier and his race pace is also quite there. He's good while driving the traffic. So yeah, I hope good for him in Division 3. Zirconium, yeah, I can't say a lot again about him. But Tabaxi, yeah, again, I know nothing about him. Lithium again. Mike Reed, yeah, we know that he raced us last season, and yeah, maybe pace wise he might not be the front runner, but he's he's quite consistent, so he should bring a good point. And Division 6 again, I don't know nothing about those guys, so I don't want to really speak a lot on them.
Yeah, well, that is the teams. It was meant to be a quick run through, and it's almost gone for an hour. But we will now move on to the predictions, and as you can already see here, we've had Koi make his. So he's got Blade as his Div 1 Drivers Championship, V-Carb as the Constructors, Thomas as the Drivers in Div 2, Alpine for the Constructors, Nolan and V-Carb, Benjo Warren Red Bull, Revelo and Sauber, Genchi and Sauber. So, you know what? Fanta, why don't you go through it first for us? Who are your predictions?
In Div 1, I'm gonna have to go with Blade. I think he's probably one of the clear favorites in Div 1, especially coming off last season. Obviously, with Div 1 getting competitive from what I've heard, it will be interesting. But I would probably say Blade for Div 1 constructors.
You mean drivers, G?
Drivers.
Adam, who will be your Div 1 Drivers Championship? Will it be your teammate?
Yeah, well, can't really say anything against it, can I? Otherwise, I would have not tried to convince him to join my team.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling a clean sweep here. So, Pat, who's your prediction for the Div 1 drivers?
Right, so I mean, yeah, there are only two names that I would say is a Blade or Exotic Planes. So still, as long as I know that Blade won't be racing from Japan this season, so I'm gonna go for Blade.
Yeah, well, Blade has earned himself a clean sweep. I can't make that bold for whatever reason.
I
But
hope he can handle the pressure.
yeah, I've also gone for Blade. So then, constructors, Mr. Fanta.
Again, I'm not sure how it's all going to play out. I think a bit of a dark horse for me for Division 1. I'm gonna go with Red Bull. I know Boosted could potentially be up there. I know Blade, if he wins the constructors, you'd probably lean at the favour for the constructors is going to be there. But I feel that if Boosted could just pick away, maybe get Willow to keep up there with him, I feel like they could possibly get the constructors
Yeah, you're
wrapped up.
waffling. Atom.
Um, well, I'm saying this based off the fact that I really expect many finishes in the races and therefore less points for me. And a team that I've not seen before after yesterday's draft. Williams are, I think, the favourites for the Div 1 constructors.
Okay. Intriguing from you. I thought you would have, backed yourself there. Pat, who are your favourites for the Div 1 constructors?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Villa catch up Red Bulls. As long as I remember that last 2 seasons, the team that Blade was in won the constructors in Division 1, and I hope it will be the same this season. So I'm gonna go with Racing Bulls.
Yeah, I am gonna throw one out there, and nope, I've also just realised Atom's gone for the same. I'm also gonna say Williams for Div 1 personally. I just think Exotic's got a little bit more in him, even though I've said Blade for the drivers in the most loving way to Atom. I don't know if Blade can carry him to the constructors, so yeah.
Fully agree.
Okay, that calms in. That's good, good. I think we will go backwards this time. So if I quickly just have a little gander at Div 2 for the Drivers' Championship, I am gonna have to back my own driver here, and I'm gonna say Thomas is gonna get it. So I mean, I think he's just one of the better. He's gonna have some serious competition this year, but I do think he can still go out there and get it. Pat, who do you think?
As long as I would like Thomas to win it, or as much as I feel that Gating has consistency is gonna win it, I mean, I'm gonna go with the driver that I wish to win the Division 2 Drivers' Championship, Cyntium.
Okay, that's a very nice pick there. Atom, who are you going for?
Oh, this is so difficult. This is a really tough call. I would agree to Pat. I would really wish it. My favorite baguette, but I think he needs another learning lesson in the drivers at least. So I would go for Rob Kelly.
Okay, yeah. I was waiting for Rob to be one of the picks as well. He's definitely one of the quicker guys in that division, but I think the one thing for Rob is his attendance. It wasn't great last season, but if he can definitely improve on that, he's got a good chance at it. Fanta, who are you going for, sir?
Uh, I think I'm gonna go for Cyntium's teammate, Gaetan Cass.
Okay,
I think they can both do well, and I think he might pip Cyntium as much as I love the baguette.
I spelled that right.
Our knowledge is shown when we all have four different drivers.
How do you spell guy? Guy. Yes, there we go. Okie dokie. The constructors now, sirs. Mr. Fanta?
I'm gonna have to go with Alpine. I think they've probably got one of the strongest lineups in the whole of Div 2.
I don't know why I'm doing it in all caps, but yes. And Atom?
I think Weekup's strong, but Alpine is just evil. So I've got to agree to Alpine.
Yep. Pat?
Yeah, same here. Alpine.
Okay, and yeah, we've got our second clean sweep because, yeah, I've got to agree with all of you guys here. Alpine is just something else in this Division 2 lineup. It's one of the more consistent ones. So if we were going back to front, Fanta, you start us on the drivers for Div 3.
Div 3. Uh, I mean, again, it is very competitive. I think bit of a weird one, but I'm gonna go with More Leader. He showed a lot of promise in Div 4 last season now, getting bumped up to that Division 3. I feel he might be a bit of a dark horse compared to the rest. Obviously, you've got Hayes in there, but I think that's a bit of an obvious pick as well.
Going for more leader, you're saying he's going to be able to keep his consistent and go for it.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
ex-teammate. Gotta give him some love.
Yeah, okay. And Mr. Atom, who are you going for?
During the draft, I always wanted to kind of go for Tuba Tom, but I think AJ's got this. I think he's ready for his second title.
Okay,
So I'd back my own driver there.
I don't know where I'm typing on the thing. Yeah, Patricia?
Yeah, as we said, that's a hard one. And I might surprise some of us, but I'm gonna go for Hayes.
Okay, yeah. Understandable. I'm just gonna put Hayes. I don't know if there's anything before it, but
BRT.
she can lose the team. She can just be Hayes today. And for my Div 3, I am gonna go for Mr. R. Whiffle. Just throwing it out there. I think, Koi can get the best out of him. He's definitely a semi-decent driver, and I think he could just maybe pull the consistency out. He can be one of the people up there. So for constructors, I don't actually know who's in what team. Is it you, Adam, that's got Nolan?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I am going to go for VGarb then for the constructors. Pat, who are you saying?
Yeah, I have to go for a VCAP. I can't see anyone
Yeah.
else.
A third time VCAP, please.
Yes, sir, no problemo. And Mr. Fanta.
Fourth time V-Cub.
We need to start going for some clean sweeps here. Let's have some originality, yeah? Okay, you started the drivers, didn't you, Fanta? So let's go
Yes.
for me. For Div 4, I am going to be using the same logic as Asim last time, and I'm thinking if I don't back my own driver, I think it's just wrong. And it was very close between who I was going to go for here. I was either going to go for Koi or Liam, but I think I've got to go for Liam here, just because he's my own driver. So yeah, Pat, who are you going for?
To be honest, I feel confident. I'm going for myself.
Okay. I don't know what you've been smoking. Atom, who are you going for?
This is because this is not a mixture of will they be fast enough and will they actually turn up all the way? I mean, there are two drivers I can control, so yeah, I'm going too confident on this one, but I think Benjo Warrior can do some wonders.
Okay. I forgot how to spell warrior, but there we go. And Fanta.
I this is hard, but I'm gonna go with Koi.
Oh, I wouldn't say a bad pick there. I'd definitely say he's one of the people up there. And if you want to start it off with the constructors, good sir.
Constructors, I think honestly the best team lineup has to be probably V-Carb. Man in the Box and Benjo is probably one of the best duos you could have in that tier.
Yeah. Atom, are you back in your own team?
It's just it's I think it's too fast to be consistent, to be honest. So I would think Alpine. I think Cintium has got a nice balance.
Yeah. Very nice. Pat?
Mm. To be honest, I'm gonna go for Williams.
Okay.
As long as Rystar doesn't leave mid-season, he and thinks they can really go for the constructors.
Yeah, and unfortunately here, I will not be back in my own team. I actually think Red Bull have a very good shout at it with the pairing of Juice and Koi. Both of them will probably be challenging for the championship, so I think with both of them pushing for that, it can then just make them absolutely fly in the constructors. And Mr. Fantadoodles, Div 5 Drivers Champion, sir.
Div 5, I think I'm going to go with one of my teammates, I guess, to an extent. I'm going to go with Rev. I feel if he can find that pace that he used to have, I feel like it could potentially propel him later on in the season to make a last-ditch title charge.
I almost thought my guy was going for me. You just betrayed me, I guess. Atom, who is your Div 5 prediction?
This is a bit difficult, this one. I mean, it gets even more difficult the lower we go. But considering I've heard so many positive things, I think I have to agree with Fanta on that one. I think Revelo sounds like a good prospect.
Is it
Yeah.
now bad I want to change mine?
Do you
I
really
have
want
someone
to change
else. Yeah, I do.
it? Okay.
I want to change mine to Darko Wade.
Okay.
Extremely dark horse, I feel. Like,
Yeah.
going off of what I've seen in pre-season, I reckon he's got a bit
Yeah.
about him.
Okay.
Unlike you, I can tell my drivers to drive slower, so my predictions go correct.
Pat, who is your prediction for the Div 5 championship?
To be honest, I've got two drivers in my mind, and
That's good. We need you to pick
I
one.
don't know why, but I think after losing the championship by being taken out back in season 5, Brownest Bounce can challenge for that.
L.
He's a paired.
Ah, Mr. Coy. He's back in his rev decision, I guess. Right. My pick. I think you guys have slept on someone here. I really do think
Oh, yeah.
Mr. B.O.B. can challenge very well for that championship, and he did lack a little bit of consistency in Div 4 last season. He used to, he enjoyed eating the walls, but then so did I, so did Brownest, Led did every now and then. So Div 5 is probably one of the hardest to predict, but obviously Div 6 is the hardest. I'm going to start off and I'm going to back myself and Rev here, and I think we can have a good little go at the constructors. Pat.
Yeah, I mean, here I will probably go the same. I will go with the Zauber.
Thank you,
I
sir.
think that I think the team wise, you look the strongest one.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Atom.
Well, I was gonna go Sauber to be honest, but I think I have to make something up here because it's not nice to get the same everywhere. So I think I'll just back my boys
The
at
V
V
Carb.
Carb.
Yeah. Yeah, and Fanta.
Again, I'm going to go different. I think that the Alpine has got a really strong lineup in Div 5.
Fair enough. Alright, and if you want to start us off with the Div 6 drivers.
Uh, I'm not going to choose myself. I reckon I will go with Genchi.
Yeah, I think that's a very safe pick, to be honest. He definitely seems like one of the people that can be right up there for it. Atom.
Well, talking of difficult picks, I just rely on this driver to be worse than I expect and to actually not run away with it. So I have to promote him mid-season, but I think if that's the case, Fanta's got it. The experience of that man is unbeatable.
Yeah, he's getting very old now. Expecting a kid. Yeah, might as well.
Crazy.
He needs to get that championship before he disappears.
Retiring for a season.
Yeah. Pat, who is your pick?
As much as I think that if Fanta doesn't win it, he will keep going with racing even with the kid.
Yeah, on his
Because I
choice.
can with I can with 3. He can definitely do that with 1. So I'm not gonna predict him as a driver championship. I'm gonna go for a surprise. I will say bitter.
Beetle, did you say?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I am gonna back Fanta. I just, you know, he's my boy. And unfortunately, I won't be back in my own team for Div 6. I think I don't believe Fanta has a great second driver. Much love, Boltslinger. I'm actually gonna go for. I can't see it, Atom. Who's got Nicholas and Indian Goat?
Mercedes.
I'm gonna go for Mercedes. I just think Indian Goat seems to be one of them up there. I'm not too sure on Nicholas, so as long as Nicholas is also up there, I think Mercedes can have a good go at it. And Pat,
So I'm gonna go for I'm gonna go for Williams with Gentay and Jeremy.
yeah, I'd say that's also a very good pick there. Atom?
I mean, both of the picks said was like, I'll be the only one having them, but Williams and Mercedes. So both of them are gone now. So I guess I'll have to choose one. But I'll go Williams. I agree. Indian Goat is really quick, and if Hayes can make sure he keeps the car out the walls, he'll be very fast. And Nicholas as well. I think that's a pretty good team.
Yeah, and Fanta. Who are you going for?
Oh, I'm gonna have to back myself here. I think me and Boltslinger have got it in the bag, mate.
Yeah,
I
sure.
said Mercedes, not Williams.
Did you, sir? I don't believe you. You're trying to cover your tracks here. Anyway, with the OCC, I'm going to start us off, and I think Alpine are getting it. I think they just have strong lineups in every single division. I'm just not sure. Apart from VCarb, honestly, who else can challenge them? It was very close between Alpine and VCarb for my prediction, but Pat?
To be honest, from the beginning I was saying VCAP or Alpine, but yeah, after last season and losing with me, I think Koi really wants it, and he will really push for it. So I'm gonna go with Red Bull.
Okay, yeah. Oh my god. Atom.
I think it's overall a three horse race between my team VCarb, Alpine, and Williams.
Okay.
I think it will be very close with Symptoms Alpine and my VCarbs, but I think we got this.
Okay.
So
He's picking
yeah.
himself. I mean, you can't sit there and not pick yourself. At the end of the day, you got to back it. And Fanta.
I think I'm gonna go with Pat here. I think I'm gonna go with the Red Bull as well. I think Koi's gonna push a bit harder this season. I don't think he's necessarily got the idyllic lineups that he'd like for every division, but I think he can definitely maybe make a few changes, or we might have a few surprises
Right,
come the end
there
of the
you
season.
go. That's screenshot. Ain't no one hiding from that. There's no changes now. But that has been it for the first.
Okay. So before we finish that, sorry, Panda. Let's get off. Let's get that off topic. Who do you think will finish closest to the in real life performance?
Okay.
Okay. Which team in OCC will finish the closest to their in real life performance?
Oh, okay.
Ooh,
Hmm. I
That's
don't.
gonna be a
Sauber.
tough one.
I don't
Let's
think
have a think.
you little motherfucker, Koi. I heard you. Pipe down. You're not even here. Uh, I don't think it can be Ferrari because Ferrari at the top, and like you said, the head unfortunately for B4 their lineup doesn't look too strong.
I'm gonna
Williams,
go with the Red Bull.
Red Bull, you think?
I
Yeah.
think Red Bull should be up there in top three, in my opinion. And if
I
like
know
in
my
real
pick as well.
So wait, you're saying what closest? Oh my God, to
to in real life,
it would help if I could spell. Oh my God.
Colbray.
Yeah, I am going to go with Jesus. Why are you making me think this hard? You know what? I'm gonna go with Mercedes. Just for all their Div 5 lineup, I think it can push them up there, and they've got some decent picks throughout the rest of the divisions. But yeah, I'm gonna go for Mercedes. And you said Red Bull, right, Pat?
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say Aston Martin.
Okay. And Mr. Fantadoodles?
I'm gonna go with RB. I feel like they're currently sitting, I think, 7th in the real life. I think they're being bigged up a bit too much. I feel like they're gonna get involved in some incidents.
Wow.
Oh,
You predicted 2 constructors championships
yeah,
already for us.
doesn't make much
That doesn't
sense.
mean anything. You just wait and see.
Yeah,
Right,
you
Koi,
wait
I
and
know you're
see, my
sitting here.
friend.
You've now got to make this prediction. Who do you think is going to perform closest to the real life performance of the car? Come on, Koi. Wakey, wakey.
No, man, don't worry about that. I'll say Red Bull as well.
Yeah,
I think they're the only top team in real life that's gonna finish high up. I mean, Ferrari would have been there, but unfortunately Beeford. So
he's had a bit of a stinker.
Washed.
yeah, I also think as well. Just add input. We should do bottom of OCC as well. Just quickly, just
Right.
one name from everyone. Bottom of OCC.
Oh, that looks
I'll start with Ferrari.
Oh, okay.
I feel like this is getting a bit personal now.
Fantasy's VCAP now. I'm quitting.
I'm skipping me, Pat.
Around the bottom. Oh my god. I don't really want to say that.
You can't back out. Panda, put a team in that box, mate.
I need to study it, bruv. That's
I
why
don't
I'm now
care.
looking at it.
No. Put a team in that box. Right now, no studying. It's a prediction.
Alright, bet.
Just put a team in there, bro.
I'm
I'm
sorry
gonna
to
go McLaren.
disrespect my old team, but yeah. You're going McLaren.
We can't
Yeah?
see it.
Yeah.
Well, you got bang.
No.
There you go. I've unfortunately disrespected my previous team from last season, but I think unfortunately Aston Martin didn't have great picks. Adam, who do you think is going to finish bottom?
Ferrari.
Fanta.
I'm gonna go Haas.
Oof. Okay.
Oof. I actually had them high up, I think.
I don't think Brain
Well,
Core's
it's
done.
Braincore's last season, from what I heard on the grapevine. So it could, if he doesn't perform,
Panther. I'm not gonna lie, mate.
That is
Your
a stinky
predictions.
pick.
Your predictions are the worst. I'll keep
Nah,
it
You've
real.
got
trust.
Partick in Div 2. That's
You
going to carry
said
them up to at least 7th.
Partick can't carry. Trust.
Alright.
Just watch.
Alright, but he's sitting there saying trust. Now that hopefully no one else added anything else. There you go. That's
Most
finished.
fastest laps.
No, suck your mum.
Oh my.
We've been going for a whole hour and a half. I am playing the trailer to end it off. Hopefully this season we're a little bit more consistent with these podcasts and we don't end after round 4. No promises, but yeah, have fun, boys, and maybe see you next week.
Inside the one. He's going to do what he did to B for a few laps. Top of the wet compound.